Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Study Break, an SNHU podcast. My name is Abby. I'm a writer here on the marketing team, and I am so happy to be your host today. As someone who studied creative writing here at SNHU, teaches creative writing at SNHU, and happens to personally aspire to publish a novel myself, I am so thrilled to welcome Jessica Cozzi to the podcast.
Hi.
Jess earned her MFA from Southern New Hampshire University in 2022. She works as a publicist at William Morrow, an imprint of HarperCollins, big name. And she recently published her debut novel, We've Hit Turbulence. Jess, it is so great to have you here with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, if you're ready to roll, let's just dive right in. You ready?
Sure. Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, first, I just want to get to know you a bit. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about where you live.
I am from Long Island, New York. I'm originally from New York City, but when I was young, I moved out to Long Island. My whole family, we like to joke I'm like 8 millionth generation New Yorker. So we are very entrenched here. So I did the SNHU program remotely because I was here in New York. But I did go to graduation in person, which was pretty exciting. But yes, so that's where I've been.
I didn't know you graduated in person. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to chat more about that with you. What was that experience like? Was that great?
It was so fun, especially because I did my MFA. I started my MFA in 2020. Okay. I graduated undergrad in 2020. So I didn't get a graduation because we know how that went for everybody.
Oh, yes.
We ended up having a delayed one like a year later, but it wasn't the same. So my SNHU MFA graduation was the first college level graduation that I had really that counted to me. So that was so exciting. I actually ended up doing the SNHU program with one of my best friends from home. Not the same program. She was doing a different master's program. But the way it fell is we graduated at the same time. So we made it a road trip up to New Hampshire with all our friends and family. We were there for the whole weekend, and it was so fun. It was fun to be with everybody and to celebrate and to get that graduation experience that I didn't really have. And being able to sit next to her at graduation, like one of my childhood best friends, and we were each getting our masters, very different things. Hers was like psychology, something super smart and hard. But it was really cool to be able to do it together. And the way it fell, we got to graduate together.
Oh, that is so special. That is awesome. I love chatting with students about graduation specifically, because I think with an online program, there can be a misconception that you don't get that in-person experience at all. And it's so nice, I think, that students, for prospective students to know that that is an option to them. You have this opportunity to celebrate your achievement in person if you want to. So that is awesome. I'm so glad you have it.
Thank you. And even though it's a online asynchronous program, there are several people in the MFA program that I became friends with that I still talk to pretty regularly, and we like each other's posts and text each other happy birthday and about our writing. So you definitely even though it's not, I went to a traditional undergraduate in-person dormed on campus, that whole thing. And so I kind of was a little apprehensive because I'd never done a remote program. So I didn't know what it was going to be like, or if I was going to make friends or have a cohort because everybody's on their screens on discussion boards. But definitely, I've made a lot of really, really great friends.
Oh, that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. We hear that from students a lot. And I think it's, I can imagine for a program like the MFA, which we will chat about shortly. I can imagine for a program like that, it would be particularly nice to have that kind of moral support. You're in this big endeavor. You are working on an extremely large project for the entire program. So I can imagine, when you're in the trenches like that, having some people that can kind of, cheer you on, hold you accountable, that could probably be pretty helpful, I would imagine. So that's awesome. All right. So you're a New Yorker. That's very cool. Tell me, have you always been a writer? And when was the moment that you thought, okay, I want to pursue this for real?
I have been a writer for as long as I can remember. My mom loves to tell this story. I was maybe 3 or 4, old enough to start sight reading, but not read at a significant level. That she read me The Giving Tree, and I didn't like the ending, so I ripped out the last few pages and tried to write an ending myself. I didn't know how to write, to be very clear, so I was just doodling things, but when she asked me what I was doing and trying to teach me you don't damage books and whatever, I was no, I didn't like the ending. I want a new ending. And so I have been writing from very, very early. I don't have a memory of my life where I was not a writer, but I think when I first started realizing it could be a career was when I was in high school. I started a book blog with a few of my friends freshman year of high school, just for fun. This was the age of blogging. This was before TikTok, before Instagram. So we just reviewed books that we liked online. And at one point it became definitely not the biggest blog around, but it was one of the bigger young adult book blogs. That's the kind of stuff we reviewed. And we started getting pitches from publicists at publishing companies that wanted to offer us early copies of books. And that's when I really realized, like, I always loved reading, I always loved writing, and it was a passion of mine, but it was not something I knew how to make a career out of. Nobody really in my family is a big writer. There's many readers, but not writers. So like, I didn't even think that this was something could even happen to me. And not only did I learn that I could be a writer, like watching, especially we were reviewing books by girls that there were women that wrote them that were in college, that were not much older than me, that were writing books. So I was like, if they can do it, why can't I? And that's also when I realized I wanted to become a publicist, because getting pitched by these publicists, I was like, this is so cool. Your job all day is to talk about books to people and get them to read them. Like that's your goal. So high school, I would say, is like when I really like realized this is something I can do and can set myself up for in the future.
Oh my gosh, how awesome is that? I feel like
Right.
also, and we'll totally talk about your, your publishing endeavors
Mm-hmm.
as an author, but also as a publicist. I want to talk all about that.
Yeah.
How wonderful though. I think, high school is a formative time and can really be, I think, a time of discovery and kind of figuring out like, wait a second, this is something I'm really passionate about. Is this something that I could be serious about too?
Yes.
And of course there's nothing wrong with just writing as a passion project also, and nothing wrong with that, but very cool that was kind of the time, sounded like a very, seminal time for you.
Yes.
Which sort of actually leads me into a good transition, because it leads me to our next question. You are especially drawn to YA novels, particularly contemporary romance. Tell me why you love this genre so much.
The short answer is that teens are so messy and it's so fun. But the more serious answer is that teenagers are experiencing everything for the first time most of the time, and I think that kind of like makes it more fun to write. Even as adults, you go through heartbreak, you go through friendship breakups, you lose people, you go through grief, but as a teenager, like that's very often the first time you're navigating some of life's biggest emotions, which can cause complete chaos because you have no idea how to handle it. Breaking up with somebody when you're 14 is different than breaking up with someone when you're 34 and you've been through it and life will continue. And a story that I love to tell is that when I was 16, I failed my road test for the first time. And I came home, locked myself in my room, didn't speak to anybody. I was like ugly sobbing, but in the moment it felt like my world was over. Like that was my first big failure. That's the first big thing as a teenager that like really matters. And your friends all knew you were going for the test and like how'd it go? I was mortified. I truly felt like my world was falling apart and I would never be okay again. And now looking back at it at 28 years old, I'm like, girl, you passed again a week later. Like you were fine. But I like to use that example because everything as a teen feels so end of the world. Even though as an adult you look back and you realize that's not the case. Like I think that's what makes writing YA romance in particular really fun, is it's not just love, it's first love. It's messy. You make a lot of mistakes. You make a lot of stupid mistakes. You accept a lot of things that as an adult you would look back and be like, this is a red flag in a relationship I don't want to be in. Or you do silly grand gestures for love that adults, as you get a little more jaded, like don't do. I think young love in particular is just so messy and imperfect in a way that makes it so fun to write and to read. And that's really what draws me to it.
Sort of last personal question before we move into more SNHU stuff. Mm-hmm. Outside of writing, what are you passionate about? What would people be interested in knowing about you as a person?
Other than writing and reading, which are the two like core tenets of who I am as a person, I would say I'm not super crafty. My sister's a visual arts major, so she's she's taken all the art credit in the family. It goes to her. But I've like to do cross stitching. That's something that I kind of do as a fun hobby of mine. I think being a book publicist is another thing that I find is really interesting about my life that a lot of people don't have. But cross stitching is something that I kind of picked up because when I started my first day at HarperCollins, my boss was like doing a get to know you, and she was like, "What's one thing about you that has nothing to do with books or writing?" And I went blank. I'm like, I have nothing. Publishing, writing, that's all I had. So I was like, oh my God, I need a hobby, like another hobby. And so that's when I picked up cross-stitching and I thought it would be fun. And I'm actually in the middle of a project of trying to cross-stitch the book cover. It is a lot of work. It's going to probably take me several years. But it's been something, it's very rudimentary now, but that's something fun that I do.
That is super fun. And also like reading is a very substantial hobby. I would say that's my number one hobby. So
me too.
And writing, you're busy. So that's really cool though. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Let's chat a little bit about your master's program here at SNHU. I know you went to another university you mentioned for undergrad in person, which is
Yeah.
awesome. What brought you to an online program specifically?
When I was in undergrad, this before COVID happened and lockdown happened, I always wanted my MFA. That was something that was a dream of mine. I had always wanted to do it and like write the novel. And you see all like I was a big fan of Jane the Virgin growing up, and like she's in like a romance writing grad school program. Like I always loved the allure of that, but I really wanted to work in publishing. That was something that was really important to me, and so my plan for when I graduated, which again didn't happen, was that I wanted to graduate and go right into the workforce. I didn't know much about online programs. Nobody in my family, people in my family have gone to college, but nobody had gone to grad school. So nobody like knew anything about online programs pre-COVID. This program did exist pre-COVID, but people didn't know as much about online programs pre-COVID. So I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, no, I just want to go straight to like working. I want to work in publishing. I thought my only option was to do grad school like as night school, and I live 2 hours away from Manhattan. So it's like I can't work till 5 p.m., go to night class till 9 o'clock, and then go home. I can't do it. So I don't know. I resigned myself to like maybe one day we'll see what happens. And then COVID happened and everything was in a hiring freeze. And I realized like this might be my chance. And like no schools are doing anything in person, but SNHU, they were really, really good at, since they were so well known from their online programs, and especially the MFA program had no residency, which in the world of COVID, that was something I was looking for, is that I didn't want to do residency. And I just thought it was really, really amazing because the fact that it was asynchronous meant that I can work and do grad school. I didn't have to give it up. I got my job at HarperCollins like half a year into the first year of my MFA program. And I said that to my boss. I'm like, I'm in grad school, but this is not something that's going to affect my work, because I was able to work on the weekends and on Sundays and on evenings after work.
What's an example of something that you learned in one of your classes, or even just throughout your program in general, that really stood out to you, or is something that you find yourself using in your writing now?
Something that stuck with me, actually, the entire MFA program, I can talk about it for hours. There were classes in the MFA program where you had to design your newsletter, your author social media, your author website. All three of those that I did as my class assignments are still what I use today. The platform I used in that class is my newsletter. The website I built in the class, my social media I started in the class. Obviously, I'm not doing it for a grade anymore, and I took it a little bit in a different direction, but all of those started in the MFA classes. I didn't have any of those until that. And then for me, we had a unit where we did different like outlining methods, and we did several. We experimented to see what worked with you. And my outlines were usually kind of loose and messy, and sometimes I would finish books and sometimes I wouldn't. And I was like, I need something better. And in this program, one of the methods we did like this big index card method where you like write the scene cards and lay them out. And it felt like the story got unlocked to me in a way that had never happened before. And that is the outline method I have used for the 5 books I have written since then. I could talk about it for hours. I joke that I'm going to make, one of these days I have to make like an Instagram video of my outlining method, because my writers group is obsessed with like, I lay them all out on the floor in all their different colors, and like, you got to explain how you do this. So it's something that's really stuck with me. I can't write without it.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And I feel like that's so, because we talked about, the support that you receive in the program, meeting other people who are on the same journey as you are, all of that is so important. But also like those really tactical, specific skills, marketing yourself, outlining your novel, all of that, that can really kind of build you as a writer and grow you as a writer.
It really sets you up for success too, because there were homework assignments where we had to do character sketches. Actually, We've Had Turbulence was not my thesis novel. It was the novel that got me my agent, which we could talk about, but it was not my thesis novel, but I used everything I learned in that class to write my thesis novel. The SNHU template for character sketches created Olive and Tyler, everything but you also make your query letter in one of the homework assignments. So I had a query letter ready to go for literary agents. I graduated having everything I needed to take the next step into publishing, like truly.
How comforting is that, though, to know? Because, of course, it's an investment. You decide to go to grad school. It is an investment that you're making in yourself, right? So you want to know that, like, the return on that investment is worthwhile. So it sounds like for you, it sounds like that was the case. Yeah.
Because a lot of MFA programs teach you to write a book, which is great and important. It's arguably the most important part of the MFA. But then you just graduate with a book and you're like, well, now what? And like, that's not what happens here. You learn how to write a book and everything about writing a book, but you learn how to create a newsletter and a website and a query letter, what to look for in agents to reach out to. Like, they really give you the technical skills, because publishing, as much as I love publishing, working in it, writing for it, it is very much like a who you know type of industry of if you don't know anything, you don't know where to start. You need to know somebody who's been through it to tell you what to do. And I think they do a really great job. Like, there's so many people that come up to me like, I just finished a book. Like, what's my next step? And I'm like, oh, you have to query literary agents. And they're like, what words did you just say? Like, what is any of that? And they make, like, this program does a very, very good job of making sure you know everything you need to know to get it started and really, like, hit the ground running once you graduate, which I haven't seen in other programs.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. What a wonderful testimonial. And like, so great to hear that that was your experience. And now I'm like so excited because I get to talk to you about your book, which I'm so thrilled. I was excited for all the other parts, but I'll admit I'm most excited for this part of our conversation.
Thank you.
So, okay, for those who may not yet be familiar with it, there's a picture behind you. There's the cover. Can you give us a little synopsis of We've Hit Turbulence?
Yes. So We've Hit Turbulence is a young adult romance where our female protagonist, Olive, is in a long distance relationship. And so her relationship is a little bit rocky. So she decides to fly cross country to go visit her boyfriend where he's in school in Hawaii to kind of try to fix their relationship. And on the flight, she ends up sitting next to Tyler, who is her ex that she never truly got over.
Bring us into the moment when you found out the book was being published. What did that feel like? And who did you tell first?
So actually, I love to tell this story because my agent, I tease her all the time. She must have a sixth sense for when I'm not near my phone for something big to happen. I got my cover sketch when I was in the middle of like an all hands work meeting. I get like my second book deal like when I'm on vacation. Like it's like whenever I'm not near, like it's just like the sixth sense. So we had been shopping this book around. We had like a few promising leads, but hadn't heard anything. And then it was like a Friday night, like a week before Christmas. I was going into Manhattan with a bunch of friends and family to go see the Rockefeller tree. And my agent texted me and she said, "Hey, are you free for a quick call?" And I don't know. I don't know why. Looking back, I'm like, you idiot. This is what she was trying to tell you. But like, I didn't realize. I was like, oh, like I'm not going to be back to like 11 p.m. Like, can we talk tomorrow? And she's like, is there any way you can talk now? And I looked at my friend and I was like, either she's about to drop me or something big just happened. Like, this is urgent. I'm on the Long Island Railroad while this is happening. So she's like, I'm going to FaceTime you. And she FaceTimes me, but I'm on the train. And so it's like crackling and like I can barely hear her and like I can't see anything. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, what is going on? And then eventually like we just hit a patch of good service. And she was like, Delacorte wants to offer on the book. Like you got the deal. And I was so excited. And I was also really lucky because so much of my friends and family were with me on the train because we were all going into the city. So all of my most important people, I got to tell right then and there, which is really, really exciting. I was on the train.
Wow, that is okay. That feels like out of a movie, like a writer moment out of a movie. First of all, that's like incredible.
It was like, hello, what are you saying? And I was like, yeah, it was that scenario.
That is awesome. But to go right into the city and then go celebrate with like all of your love, how cool is that? Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. That is so cool. Now, I feel like that's one moment that writers dream of. Another one is holding the physical book in your hands for the first time. What was that moment like for you?
That was really exciting and very shocking because I work in publishing, which I know you said we'll get to, but I work in publishing. So much of my job is opening early copies of books that people are really excited about. Like that is a very big thing for me. So it's still exciting. Like I love my job, but you know, when I've opened my 10th exciting galley of the week for work, like it loses a little bit of its sparkle. So I thought when I would get mine, I would be way more calm about it because I'm like, oh, I do this all day. Like I was going to be excited, but I didn't think I'd be like nervous. And when I came home and saw that box, my heart just dropped and I knew what it was. And I found myself like scared, like excited, scared, like, oh my God, this is really happening. I felt just as nervous and excited as like the authors I work with do, which was very much a shock to me, is that I thought I would be a little bit more numb to it. I was not. And I actually my partner was with me and I handed him my phone and I was like, we have to do this on camera. I need to get this on camera. And I did end up posting a video of like me opening my galleys. And that, to me, was when it felt really real, because that was when like I have my copy here, like to see my words like on the page, and then like the dedication is to my partner, and like to read that and look up and he's standing right there. I'm like, this happened, like this is real. that was a surreal moment that was so exciting. And I remember like tearing up and then being shocked that I was so emotional, because this is something I do all the time. And I didn't think I would be as emotional. But I think when it's your own work, it was just different. It felt like a dream realized, for
Oh,
sure.
I'm so thrilled for you. I'm so thrilled that
Thank
that
you.
was what happened for you and like not the reaction you were expecting. Because I
Yeah,
think
me too.
that is so beautiful that your expectations were kind of low. You're like, this is whatever. And then
Yeah.
really was this. I'm so glad because you worked so hard on it. You deserve
Mm-hmm.
that gratifying feeling of like, wow, I cannot believe that I really did this. And here
Yeah.
it is. And it's right in front of me. Like, so I'm thrilled for you that that was,
Thank you.
how that felt. You deserve it.
Thank you.
And then, for I think there's going to be a lot of aspiring writers, aspiring novelists listening in as they work on their own creative writing degree, whether here at SNHU, elsewhere, whether it's an MFA or an MA. What would be your best advice to someone who like really, really wants to be where you are, holding their physical book, right? And celebrating that moment? What's your best advice for them?
My best advice that I think has saved me is to find an accountability partner. It can be in person or not. When I started the program, I had a friend that lived in town that was also a creative writer. Not like super seriously, like not gunning for publication, but like he liked to write on his free time. And so we made a plan where every Sunday we would meet at our local coffee shop and we would just write for 2 hours. We would just hang out. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of people in my family that were writers. So for me, that's what the number one thing that pushed me to get my book done is like when I woke up at 10 a.m. on a Sunday and I wanted to stay in bed, I'm like, Jason's already on the way to the coffee shop. So I need to go. And vice versa. Like he would wake up on a rainy day and want to cancel, but he's like, Jess already got up and she's already sitting there. So I need to go. And it really helped us. And then he ended up moving away to Maryland, but we still every Sunday, me, him, and a few other people that are in a writing group together, we meet up on Discord and we write together. I still go to the same coffee shop. The entire book was written there. So we go, but every Sunday, pretty much, unless somebody's sick or it's a holiday, we all show up virtually. So if you don't have a writer friend near you, I would not be discouraged. You can find people online too. And we write our own books for 2 hours. And like, we don't necessarily share our writing, but we share like parts we're stuck with or like what's going on this week. Oh my God, this character's driving me crazy. Or like just kind of like talking about our writing with people who understand how it goes. And I think to me that has been the biggest thing that fueled me because, especially because I work a 9 to 5 and writing is not my full-time job. During the week, I write like in fits and starts when I can. I write on my lunch break. I write after work. I write on the subway, but it's not very consistent because my schedule looks different every day. But knowing I have that Sunday time, and I tell people like guard it like you would guard a doctor's appointment. If my friends want to go to brunch, I'm like, sorry, it has to be after 12. I have an appointment from 10 to 12. I tell my friend, like I guard that time the way I would guard an appointment I made at a doctor. And I make myself honor it. And I've get so much writing done because my brain kind of goes into like, you like Pavlov yourself, and to think like I get to the coffee shop and I sit down and my brain's like, okay, it's writing time, and I'm really able to focus. And it's been 5 years this year that we've been meeting every Sunday.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
so incredible. Oh my gosh, what an incredible commitment that you've made and that your friends have made. And I think you're speaking also so well to the fact that like if it's in person, great, but it also
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be. Like it is okay.
No.
You can find and build community online, whether it's with classmates that you've
Yeah.
met, other people in, online Discord communities, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, like there are writers out there waiting also for community and I think and waiting for accountability like that. And so how powerful is that? I mean,
I
that's
think there's a lot of power in routine too. Like I could just write at my desk at home, which I have a good setup, like I could do it. But I think there's something different that makes me excited to write, to get up and like put on a nice outfit and go to the coffee shop and be like, oh my God, I'm gonna get my frozen hot chocolate and get my little pastry, and like adding, like, it's a routine that I look forward to. And I think that's made getting out of bed on the days where it's crappy weather or it's cold or you're out the night before. I think like that really does help, because I would say shake it up. Like if I write at home too many days in a row, I need to go to the library. I need to go to the cafe. I need to do something that's not where I am all the time. And it helps me a lot.
totally. And you're romanticizing it a little bit. Like,
Oh yeah.
like you said, a nice yummy drink, a coffee, a tea, something
Mm-hmm.
nice, a little pastry, whatever it is. Or even if you're just at home at your desk, maybe you light a candle, maybe you
Yep.
make yourself something nice, whatever. I'm the same way. I love to write at a coffee shop. That's like my ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can't, I still try to kind of like romanticize my experience at home too.
Romanticize your life any way you can. That's something I do in all aspects of my life. I think it makes
Totally.
the slog a little less sloggy.
It does. It so does. Absolutely. I love that advice. I think that's great. Okay, we've mentioned this a couple times. I'm very eager to chat with you about this. You also, as you've mentioned, you work in the publishing industry.
Yes.
Really cool. What is it like being a publicist?
There's a running joke in my company that I still skip to work when I go in. I very much love my job. It's what I've wanted to do my entire life since I started getting those pitches from those publicists. So since I was like 13, and I love my job. I think it's so fun. I think working in PR specifically is really fun because you never have the same day twice. Some days I'm sending pitches. Some days I'm going with my authors to Good Morning America. Some days I'm traveling to Seattle with one of my authors for a book tour. Some days I'm helping them move their luggage between hotels because the paparazzi found them. And like, it's like all sorts of like fun. So one of my work besties is like the marketing girl for our romance imprint. And she'll be like, hey, I need you for a reel. Can you put on like this fake mustache? I'm like, done. Like, it's like fun. Like our job is so creative and so fun. And I think that helps keep you from being bored. I'm never bored at my job. I absolutely love what I do.
Okay, this is going to be fun. We call this part of the podcast our lightning round. You might have heard this on other podcasts. Don't overthink these. Just answer whatever comes to mind first. There's no wrong answer. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to start you off, though, with a tough one. But I think it's a good one. Okay. Favorite book ever?
They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, which is very different from a young adult romance. It is still young. It has romance in it, but They Both Die at the End. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I'm not like familiar. I haven't read it.
It's a very interesting concept. It's set in like the current like contemporary times kind of thing. Right. But on the day that you're going to die, you get a call from the government and they say like, you're going to die within the next 24 hours. They can't tell you when, they can't tell you how. It could be 2 minutes after you hang up, or it could be 23 hours from now. Wow. And so basically the point of the book is these two young teenage boys get the call on the same day. And there's an app that's kind of like Tinder, but it's like for people that get the call on the same day, so you can meet a friend and like maybe not be so alone on your last day.
Wow.
And these two boys meet on the app and they end up falling in love. But it is a really good book. Brilliant writing. Some of the most brilliant writing I've ever read in my entire life. And I think everybody should read it, whether or not you are usually a YA reader.
You might have already answered this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Favorite place to write?
The coffee shop on Sundays.
Okay.
Definitely.
Love it. Favorite music to listen to while writing?
While writing, I cannot listen to anything with words in it because I'll start writing them into the book. I like to listen to lo-fi. There's that YouTube channel, like the Lo-Fi Girl Beats to Study To channel on YouTube. It's like just like fun, chill, like lyricless music that it kind of like conditions my brain that it's writing time.
Favorite writing snack?
This is hard because I don't like getting my keyboard dirty. I'm very weird about it.
Yes.
I would say microwave popcorn, but I eat it with chopsticks when I'm writing. Because I can't.
Awesome.
The dirty fingers like gives me the ick when I'm writing. I can't I can't get my computer dirty, so I eat microwave popcorn with chopsticks.
Last question for you: what are you reading right now?
I am reading Single Girls by John Searles. It's an early copy of a book that comes out in July. It's one of my assignments for work, but it's a fictional story of Helen Gurley Brown, who is the first woman's editor of Cosmopolitan, and all the chaos she caused to make Cosmo the magazine it is today. It's very fun. It's not usually something like that. It's not like a young adult romance, which is usually what I'm reading. It's something I'm reading for work, but it is so fun. And John is just such a great writer, and it's a fictional story, but John actually was hired by the real Helen Gurley Brown right out of grad school. And he was the book's editor at Cosmo after her. And I think it was really interesting. Like it's fictional, but it's a love letter to somebody that he really felt inspired by, and she basically changed the landscape of women in media, which I am part of. So I find it very, very exciting. It comes out July 7th.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Okay, awesome. Well, we'll have to keep that one on our radar too.
Yeah.
Jess, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time. I truly could talk to you for hours. I feel like there's other things to chat with you about, especially as someone who's writing so much. Like you are such a joy to chat with.
Thank you.
Everyone listening, go get your hands on We've Hit Turbulence. I certainly will be. Thank you so much, Jess. It was wonderful getting to know you today.
Thank you very much.